accelerators. So first of all, what are the 9 sales accelerators? Well, the 9 sales accelerators are let me just go ahead and swap my camera here, make it a little easier for you all to see. The 9 sales accelerators are the core systems that every startup needs to build and implement in order to get a more predictable, repeatable, scalable sales process. So over the course of the last couple months here on LinkedIn and in the podcast, we've been talking about each of these 9 sales accelerators. So the first part is your prospecting plan of action. It's how are you generating leads, filling the funnel, and building qualified leads into your sales pipeline, which is part 2, your pipeline pull-through strategy. And once you've got those deals through your sales pipeline, then of course you need to convert them to your paying customers. And so today we're going to talk about specifically as in this third piece here, the paying customers, the conversions from your pipeline to your paying customers. And specifically we want to talk about the idea of a risk reducer or risk reducers as a sales accelerator. If you implement a risk reducer strategy in your sales process, it will accelerate your sales process. It will accelerate your conversion rate. So let me talk about why are risk reducers important? What are they exactly? Well, I remember as a kid, probably I was middle school into high school, I used to watch this show called The X-Files. The X-Files. So some of you might recognize this show. And there was Agent Scully and Agent Mulder, and Fox Mulder was played by David Duchovny. And in his office, he had this poster of a UFO, and on the UFO, there's this big words that said, "I want to believe. I want to believe." And when you think about your prospects, in a lot of ways, your prospects are like Agent Mulder. They want to believe that your product, that your service is going to help them solve their problems. The challenge that they have, however strong of a champion that person might be, however high up in the organization that person might be that wants to believe that your product is going to help them solve their problem, is that as a startup, you're a risk. You're a risk to their organization. They're worried that maybe you won't fulfill on the implementation that you promised. Maybe you won't be able to build out the product roadmap that you say you're going to build. They worry, and there's a risk that what if for whatever reason you don't get the next round of funding, and they've invested time and energy and resources and people into switching from the old way to the new way and adopting your new system, and now all of a sudden you're not around to support them. And so when it comes down to the end of the sales pipeline, a lot of times that deals stall out, or a lot of times that startups lose deals to indecision or lose deals to larger, more established competitors, is that they haven't implemented a solid and a robust risk reducer strategy. So I'm going to show you how to think about implementing a risk reducer strategy so that when you get to the end of your sales process, it'll make it easier for your prospects to really take that step forward, so they don't have to just want to believe, they actually can believe, because you can show them that in fact you can fulfill on the promise that you're making. So the easiest way I found to describe this is just using a simple graph. So I call this the value project model. The value project model. And so on the y-axis over here, I'm using dollars as the label here, but you can also think about this as dollars in a number of ways. You can think of it as price. What is the price that your prospects are going to pay? You are also going to be measuring value. How much value do they receive, or how much utility in economic terms will your prospect receive as a result of investing in your product or service, right? And then on the x-axis, of course, we have time. And so if we think about the sales process, you're starting down here on the bottom left where the 2 points intersect. They're not paying you any money, and they haven't really spent any time with you. So we have 0 on the y and 0 on the x, right? Now, where you want them to go is all the way to the upper right of this graph. And that's, you can think about this as over time, you want to get them to a full implementation. And that implementation, if you're selling enterprise, maybe it's $100,000 implementation that could take 6 months, 12 months to fully get up and running. You're working with a whole team of people. Things are working really well. They have full integration with the other systems that you need to integrate with. Data's flowing in and out. And you've got this magical place where over time, maybe we'll call it 12 months, over time, you've got this full implementation, everything's working. And on the y-axis, we're measuring, remember what we're measuring here is is dollars. In this case, that full implementation, it takes a lot of time to get there, but the outcome for them is they get a lot of value for that, right? Now the challenge, and this is where risk reducers comes in, is that this jump, right, going from not spending any time or money with you all the way up to a full implementation, that's a big jump for people to make. It's a long timeline for your prospects to be thinking about. So this is where risk reducers come in. It's our job to install small steps along the way that allows your prospect to take the next step forward with you, that will help them see the value. It will help them receive the utility that you want them to receive at a price, a requisite price that will help them see return on investment. So if we work backwards from a full implementation, a lot of times you might think about, well, how can we reduce some risk for our prospects to make sure that the full implementation is going well? Well, we can add a step here, and instead of a full implementation, we can call this a phase one rollout. So instead of going full organization, full implementation out of the gate, you could tell your prospect, well, look, instead of going full organizational implementation right away, what we'll do is a phase rollout. We'll do phase one. When that goes well, then we'll go to phase two, right? And on that case, because it's a phase one rollout, it would take less time. Let's say that takes, say 6 months. Just move this over a little bit so the graph is a little more accurate. And so it takes a little less time, of course, to do a phase one rollout. And of course, because they're only doing a phase one rollout instead of a full rollout, what that means is they're getting a little bit less value and seeing a little bit less utility as a result of the implementation, because they're not rolling it out completely to the entire organization. Now, if we take a step back even further from a phase one rollout, from a risk standpoint, that still requires a lot of time, energy, resources, and some money from your prospects, right? So they might still say, well, that sounds really good, but still feeling some risk. And they may not be telling you this directly. It's our job to address this as part of our sales process, right? And so if we scale this back, and let's make another point here, what about a paid pilot? So maybe a paid pilot you could run over 3 months' time. And again, what we're doing is we're scaling back the timeline that your prospect is thinking about getting some results or value or utility, and the amount of risk that they have to take is a little bit less, because they can pay for a pilot. It's lower monetary cost. The paid pilot is going to be even smaller than a phase one rollout. It allows you to, and for them to keep the implementation really small, really tight, really contained, and allows them to see some level of success, not of course the full level of success they would see by an entire rollout or a full implementation, but allows them in a way to see this pilot as a bit of an experiment so they can prove for themselves and also prove for their peer group, maybe it's their boss or their board or the people below them in the organization, that look, this new technology, this new company, their solution is one that could work for us. We run this paid pilot over 3 months. We got some early results. Therefore, it makes it easier for us to take that bigger step with them. So again, we're reducing risk by scaling it back. And then we can add a fourth step here. We'll just call this a POC, a proof of concept. And let's say you can do a POC over 1 month's time. And so as we draw that line, again, from zero time, zero money invested up to full implementation, what we've basically done is we've created dots, we've created segments or stepping stones along the way that helps your prospect see results. And each time they get results, what they're getting is a higher value and higher level of utility, right? And that allows them to take the next step. So it's our job as salespeople, as a seller, to say, look, this is where we want to go. Here's the full implementation. This is the promised land where we want to take you and where you want to go, because you've got this $10 million problem, this $100 million problem that we can help you solve with a full implementation. But we get it, right? It's hard. It's a hard decision to make. It's a lot of risk for you. So here are some ways we can scale that back to make sure that we're on the right path to that full implementation and to that full utility and value and outcome that you want to get to with these stepping stones, a phase one rollout, a paid pilot, or a POC along the way. So the last thing we want to talk about is price. And this is the other place where you have tremendous leverage, because once you get buy-in from your prospects to say, okay, I get it. Over the course of the next month, we're going to run a POC. And then we're going to run a 3-month pilot. And then after that pilot, then we can commit to a phase one rollout. And then when that goes well, then we can commit to the full rollout. then the obvious question is, well, how much is it going to cost me? That's what they're going to ask. What's the price? And this is the magical part for you, is because each step along the way, for you, that price curve is going to look something like this, right? Because that POC, you can charge a small fee for a proof of concept. I mean, you could charge, even if it's $100,000 or $500,000 sale, if you're working with the right buyer on the other side, an executive sponsor or a true product champion or somebody that has authority to really move the full implementation into the organization, then even charging them a small amount for a proof of concept makes a lot of sense. It shows commitment from them to the process and allows you to vet out who's real and who's not. So, and you can position this in this value project model and say, look, the full project where we want to go, prospect or customer, is this full implementation of the first 12 months. But where we're going to start is a small POC. It's a small investment from you to let us know that you're serious about evaluating our product in your environment. And the nice thing about this is that when we zoom in, you're going to pay a really small price. Maybe it's $1,000. There's something they could put on the corporate credit card. But the cool thing is, even with this proof of concept, you're still going to get some value out of this. Notice how the value curve, the plotted point on the value curve, is above the price curve. So look, you're going to make this small investment of $1,000, put it on the corporate credit card for the proof of concept, and look, you're still going to get some value. You're going to get some learning out of this. You might not get any results from using our product, but you're certainly going to get a lot of learning that's worth something to you as a manager, as an executive, around your process, around your people, around the current product or solution that you're trying to use to solve this problem, and start to get some comparative analysis of how the old way versus the new way, and how the new way might make sense for you, right? And the same thing with a paid pilot. You say, look, here's why we charge for pilots. Not only are you going to get to use the product, you're going to get our hands-on implementation. We're going to be doing lots of training. It's almost like technology-enabled consulting. So yes, of course, we're going to charge you for the pilot, but again, the price we're charging for the pilot is really small. Maybe it's a $5,000 pilot, a $10,000 pilot, right? So down here at the proof of concept, it's a $1,000 investment. Maybe the pilot's $5,000 or $10,000. But look, the value that you're going to receive is so much more, because we're going to get your entire team or a section of your team, or you're going to get a department up and running with this new technology. And because that pilot runs for 3 months, you're going to see some results. You're going to get some real outcomes as a result of using our product or service. So yeah, you're going to make a little more of an investment, but look how much more value you're going to get. And then as we extend this out to 6 months, right? Then of course the phase rollout, maybe phase 1 rollout is $30,000. But look at the size of the value that you're going to get as a result of that phase 1 rollout. And then of course at that full rollout, let's say it's a $100,000 product. Look at the value you're going to receive. And if we're really honest with ourselves and with our prospects, that utility curve, that value curve, is probably actually going to accelerate, right? It's going to eventually increase at a decreasing rate, but what you might see is the POC might be a 1-to-1 value price ratio, maybe or 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. Like, hey, invest $1,000, but you're probably going to get $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 of value back in terms of learning, right? So maybe this is $3,000 to $5,000 in value. The pilot program is $10,000, but look, the value you're going to get from that pilot is $100,000. So now that's 10-to-1 value to price ratio. And that, remember, that big problem you're trying to solve is a $10 million problem. Well, look at that phase 1 rollout. That's going to be $30,000 to implement. By the time we roll out with phase 1, you're going to have a value equal to $1 million. So now $30,000 investment to get $1 million in return. And then finally, that $100,000 investment will help you solve that $10 million problem. So now, actually, the return on investment is going up. The value you receive relative to the price you're paying is increasing as we roll out more. And it all starts by keeping the risk short, reducing the risk early with these steps along the way to prove to you, prospect, and you can see for yourself and get that proof point internally across your organization, everything you need, the data you need to support moving to the next step. So when you think about risk reducers, if you think about your situation, if you're out there selling an enterprise solution as a startup, if you're trying to sell the full implementation and you're getting to the end of your sales process and the prospect's excited, the executive's excited, you have a great sponsor on the other side, even the technical people on the other side of the table are saying, okay, yeah, we think we can work this into our workflow. We think we can get the integrations to work. Like they're at a place where they want to believe. They want to believe that you're going to be the right solution for them. But where they might be getting cold feet, where the reason you might end up losing to indecision, or the reason you might end up losing to wait until next quarter, next year, next never, is that they just perceive too much risk. They want to believe you're going to help them get that return on investment, but they can't see that jump. It's too big of a jump for them to go from no money invested to full implementation. So it's our job to scale it back, create these stepping stones, reduce the risk for them, and this is where this value project model is one that you can use to explain and show to your prospects how every step along the way is a small price to pay, a small investment to get a return on investment that will ultimately get them on the path and give them the confidence they deserve to have in order to take the step forward with you, and gives you the confidence you deserve to have to charge the price that you want to charge. So that's it. That's why risk reducers are a sales accelerator, because if you get this in place, it will actually move your deals faster. It will keep them moving and allow you to prove the success that you know you can prove, allow your customers to take the next step with you, and if those deals move and the momentum is keeping moving forward, then you're going to be able to convert more deals faster. So slow is smooth, smooth is fast. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. By the way, I forgot to mention, I'm going to be teaching a sales masterclass where we're going to be going through all 9 sales accelerators next month. So in the next couple weeks. So what I want you to do, if you want some help with this, if you want us to send you the details for the masterclass, just write the word masterclass in the comments below, and we will send you the details. We'll be rolling out the details in the next couple days. So if you want some more help with your 9 sales accelerators, defining them, assessing them, and implementing them, you definitely want to check out this masterclass. All right, that's it for now. This is Scott Sambucci signing off.